AOR's F1 League Round 10 this week, round the sale in Qatar. And thank you for joining us once again, our Lord and Saviour for the past few weeks while I've been ill. Retro Ghost, thank you for joining me, buddy.
Thanks for having me once again. It's been an absolute pleasure. Taking the reins and guiding the ship to some hopefully good commentary, but hopefully back and better today for some round 10 Qatar. I don't know if you've been tuning in, but we have seen a very dominant performance from the Mercedes Perseguili the last two races in Portugal, taking an absolute dominating lead. And last week as well, last race, not last week, so break last week. See, caught myself out already. We've not even started yet.
Yeah, so I did see that Perseguili's taken over a win point, a point, the full 25 points advantage, which even if he got DNF today, would find himself in the driving seat of the championship still. So we got a bit of information up. So this is the sales circuit. They don't have too much information on it. Obviously, it's very new to the F1 grid, to the F1 calendar. I believe it's been previously used mostly in MotoGP. It looks very much like a MotoGP track with the sweeping corners. And we're starting to get a few drivers peeling out the pits. First one being one of the Alpines. So we're going to go down to them. I believe that
is Phoenix.
It is. Off he goes. Oh, Retro, you need just to turn me down again, please, buddy. I'm just echoing a little bit.
At this point, I'll just turn you off completely.
Independent commentary. Yeah.
That's it.
So, my rule of the roost is if you're out first, you get, or at least the first one across the start-finish line, you can have a full lap of commentary guaranteed. And that is going to be Phoenix, first of all, the man hosting the lobby. Now, this track, from previous experience, I've only raced on here once in online racing. The track limits can be harsh, but ultimately inconsistent. So depending on what he's set it at, I imagine quite strict. And you may find a lot of time penalties get picked up in this race, especially around this section here. Depending on how heavy a downforce you set up, you can very easily drift wide if you can't keep it pinned. Thank you for that, Retro.
Just making sure it's actually working this time. Obviously, we don't want a repeat of Portugal and missing all the qualifying because the stream wasn't actually live.
I've seen we've got 4 watchers already. One of those seemingly being you. And we're just coming through the final sector with Phoenix. Very, very key to get this corner right. You saw Lando Norris flying off wide and ruining his lap. But it looks like Phoenix has got himself fired up well. Opens his DRS flap and powers towards the first turn. Now it's not quite a hairpin, it is quite open here, so you want to get a nice wide line and turn in fast as you can, stick it in 4th gear, don't invade on the outside, nice smooth line. You're just setting up corner after corner on this track. Maybe you didn't use the S's too much there, but very committed on the white lines. Not particularly great camera angles here. I do apologise, guys. The game is choosing a very, very low camera. Can't quite see what he's doing. Avoiding the lapping traffic in Sector 2 as he goes through what I'm going to call the second spike of the track. If you look at the track map on the right-hand side, it does have a flat iron at the bottom and spikes through there. Now, one of the fast sweeping left-handers just about keeps it on the track there. And now powers up. You can keep it, depending on your setup, pretty much flat. This is like Istanbul, I think the inspiration came from. Yeah, it goes flying around there. Keeps it nice and pinned. Oh, a bit tail happy as he goes into the final corner. He stays committed though, and he's going to step down an initial marker of a 1 minute. Well, it's quite far down the pitch rate. 1 minute 22.3. And as we just spot, I believe that is Perseguili who's just tried to. Just misses the back of him there. And who have we got coming?
On a mission.
So we must have some people coming across the line. We've got an Aston Martin of Creamer who's about to cross the line. I think he's going to beat Phoenix easily. Yes, he does by half a second on 21.7. Further back we have the other Aston Martin. of Lucazone, who I've just missed, puts himself perfectly in between Creamer and Phoenix. The McLaren of Tezik about to cross the line and goes top. Shaves another 2/10 from Creamer's time, and then Max Duca slaps himself in nicely behind there. And once again, in the darkness of Qatar, Retro, I think I'm going to miss that front end. It doesn't look like it's there from dead on, does it? Of the Alfa Romeo.
Well, you never know. Could make a return, but say this track's very interesting, technical. Whether you want to pick low speed, or sorry, downforce for the corners, or the top speed for the straights, but say this track is very, very strict on ERS as well. So qualifying it shouldn't be a problem. So the main race is going to get quite spicy. Persegili, as we've just been interrupted, but a 120.8.
Crucially though, Persegili, he's not really beaten Pedro by all that much. As Moxie, who has a strong return, puts himself into P3, quite a conservative one, only 2/10 behind Persegili.
What's happened to the AlphaTauris the last couple of races? They've had a bit of an issues, but so a very dominant display in Monaco. And so they couldn't quite find their feet after that, but so I'm sure they're going to put on a strong fight for us once again tonight. Hopefully Creamer can stay in his car for more than a couple of laps as well without getting disconnected.
So we've got a few cars peeling into the pits. What Ferrari do? No, Jim Wong pulling out the pits. We've got an Alfa Romeo. So many red dots on them. That's Max Duca coming in. Not many drivers on the lap straight away. I think they're trying to maximise the time in the session. There's no chance to do a double lap with the amount of ERS used, as Retro mentioned.
Yeah, it's very, very strict on ERS Qatar.
So as we're going to pick up Super Jesse, who's not set a time yet, he crosses the line to start his lap. He's got a nice clear track ahead of him. Only one of the Haas driver of Simu Rally Monster ahead of him. Super Jesse, who has been putting himself relatively mid-pack. He carries a lot of pace over those curbs. Oh, and ahead, Simu Rally Monster has put himself into the wall. Doesn't seem to have too much damage. Removes one of the brake marker boards in the process. Almost gets himself beached.
Well, as I see, AVT Pasty just snuck past the carnage of the Haas and set a purple sector 1 ever so marginally. So whether he can keep his lap alive through his remaining sectors.
So we're just staying on board with Super Jesse, who's just coming around the triple hairpin. You do have to reduce a little bit of speed, slight lift down into 6th, then back up into 7th. That kink really doesn't cost you anything.
As that AVT Pasty is now 2/10 up on his time. Oh no, he gets a big exit towards the pit lane, dips wide, dives into spits and invalidates.
Super Jesse, not too competitive first time out, goes bottom of the pile with a 22.4. And Simu Rally Monster's still having issues keeping the car in a straight line. But what can Mushlin do? He's coming through the final sectors, just exited the triple right-hander. Doesn't seem to be pushing at this point. I think he might have accidentally used some ERS at the start of the lap, but he's definitely pushing now. He's off on a lap. Mushlin, Mr. Smooth, not yet set a time. What can he do?
So we just picked up Jim Wong. They're coming around the last couple of corners. Oh no, very late as the previous car. I think I just missed who it was. On the last lap, AVT Pasty just dipped wide right at the entrance of the pit lane just to prove how much the track gets used. All the curbing, all the tarmac, but just too much and you'll invalidate.
Creamer, I believe, improved his time a great deal there. Keeps himself around about the mid-pack. And thank you, Rainer, for joining us. We are going to build the excitement in, but it's a track I don't know too well, so I'm trying to pick the excitement out where I can find it.
And so once the feature race starts, I'm sure we'll start jumping out of our seats. Not that you can see that, but as I battling with a little bit of a sniffle, and a sick night Greg has just about forced a return.
Yeah. So we've got solid Ninja Snake. Oh, I don't know how we managed to keep it valid around there. I'm pretty sure I saw all 4 tyres across the line. But I think this actually might be an in-lap. He's used quite a lot of ERS, so we're going to pick up another driver. What about Moxie? The former championship contender dropped a bit back after a few unfortunate results. Coming through the first sector. Very committed.
So just picked up his teammate Gormov as well, who's also on a lap, so all eyes on AlphaTauri.
He's going to have to deal with a bit of traffic. Oh my goodness! A big crash for Moxie there. Oh, and he's got himself a 5-place grid penalty for that collision, which is drastically unfair from the game.
And so we'll jump to his teammate Gormov, who's currently purple sector 2, 2 tenths up on his time. Coming around the final couple of corners of sector 3, can he keep this lap alive to take it from Persegili? Going to get a DRS wide open down the back straight, getting that AlphaTauri planted down the straight. Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? No, he doesn't.
No, clearly lost a bit of time in the final sector.
He does make an improvement, put himself P7 at the moment.
The Creamer's recently found time. We've missed that one, but Creamer on his in-lap now managed to bring himself up to P3, the man who's put himself in contention for second in the championship. Pedro about to start a lap. We're going to pick him up later on. Mushline dives into the pits. Gulmarv on the way in. Phoenix just started. And Lucazone finding a very experimental way into the pits. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get at least a warning for that. What about Persegili? We've not picked Persegili up in a while, and he just invalidates as we flick onto him. Commentator's curse. And he dives in.
Pedro just coming round the last couple of corners of sector 1. Is he going to be up on his time in sector 1? Yes,
he's on pace, which is good. He's not too far off Persegili. So if he keeps improving at that rate, he only needs about a tenth and a half. So if he can find that much time in each sector, he should find himself equal with Persegili.
They're using all that extra curbing over those couple of corners there, drifting very wide, keeping it just about on the tarmac. Very nicely done. What's he going to do for sector 2? He is improving him slightly. Purple sector 2, a tenth up on his time. So can he keep this alive for his very, very fast technical sector 3 round Qatar?
Oh, as he gets quite a snap
in front of him.
This might help him towards the line.
Too much.
Red Bull, formerly powered by Renault, now powered by Honda, using the old Renault power to help him slipstream to the line. And does improve, but still a tenth down from Persegili. That snap in the final sector has cost him dearly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Got AVT Pasty coming towards the line. What can he do? Can he improve? His deployment's used for the lap. And doesn't improve, just about a tenth down. Phoenix, I think, is on an in-lap here. Super Jesse around in the final corner. Quite a big improvement on his time. DRS opens up. It looks like a lot of the drivers are really hitting their ERS limit as they come round. Super Jesse bumps him up 1 place ahead of Lucazone into P12.
Yeah, the thing is the ERS cap for deploy use cut quite early around this track. It kicks in about 20%.
Yeah, maybe you want to open it up onto manual instead of the automatic high usage. Maybe you want to consider actually using it manually, press to push.
Yeah.
So we are just coming towards the end of this session now. So a lot of drivers are going to be peeling into the pits, getting on the last set of tyres that they're going to use and go out when the track is at its greenest. So Jim Wong's on a lap, did you say?
Drivers who yet to set a lap is Jim Wong and Sim Rally Monster, but say we do have Jim Wong come around sector 2, He hasn't set a lap yet, so we can't tell whether he's going to be a purple or yet or not. But say he's come around his couple of corners, keeping it very nicely tightly on the exit without going too far over.
So he is purple to his top 10. Jim Wong is showing good promise since joining the league, only about halfway through the season. Oh, you're very committed on the exit. But you want to be quite reserved through here, but getting the power as early as you see the exit. Little bit of a rear snap, but powers the line. Doesn't hit the cap of his ERS use. Oh, a little bit of a lag. And he brings himself up to P6. Great lap, considering that's the only one he's got on the board so
a
far.
Little snap there could have jumped him up and maybe overtaken Moxie if he didn't have that little snap there. But so it's a very respectable lap from him, P6.
So I've just picked up Mr. Smooth in the first sector. He's got a little bit of traffic in Lucas Zone. As Mushin goes purple in the first sector, he's managed to find 0.2 of a second. It's quite the improvement, but is that a sign of the setup that he's using, that he's found that advantage?
There's a bit of traffic in front. Nice,
Gets that away nicely.
Way.
But 3 goes approaching the triple right-hander. Purple in the middle sector too. Well, Mushlane is absolutely lighting it up now.
This could be sensational if Persegidi and say Mushlane have a bit of a fight for qualifying. Persegidi is now back on an outlap as Mr. Smooth, Mr. Mushlane comes round the final corner in his Alpine.
Oh, he's going to get his engine cut out. ERS is going to be fully deployed now. But he does. Wow.
0.2. Nearly.
Well, Persegidi has got really something to aim at. He's not really improved since the start of the session. He has had other laps.
So he's just letting some of the cars pass, build himself a gap, just so he can go for one final fly without any traffic.
I've just picked up Gulmarv. He's coming through the final corner now. Quite an oddly timed lap, and I think this is... Oh, sorry, I've just caught him on his outlap. Yeah. It's a strange game this game works. Takes away the outlap symbol as soon as he ends sector 2.
Sector 3, yeah.
Phoenix on a lap. He's going to have a lot of traffic coming through this section if these guys aren't moving. No, I think he's also starting a lap. So, but who can we trust is actually pushing? Moxie's in sector 1 and he's on his way. He's even got his teammate about half a sector in front of him, so maybe he's running around to try and give him a slipstream. But with Moxie carrying that 5-place grid penalty, he does light it up purple in the first sector, playing chicken with the track limits. But round he comes through the S's. Keep it valid on there. You can use a lot of the rumble there. It's relatively flat. He's got so much to find. He needs to put a huge gap between him and his competitors. As Mushlane enters the pits and retires, that his session done. Purple in the middle sector as well. Half a second in the middle sector. This could be pole and some. As the session has the checkered flag waved. Nothing else can be done once you cross that line. And there's his teammates offering him some slipstream. They don't think he set it up all that well. He's only just getting away. And he does, wow, finds half a second over Persegidi, 0.3 over Mushlane.
Picked up Persegidi as he's coming through sector 2. He's also nearly half a second up on his time. Purple sector 2. Can he take the fight to Moxie? Can he improve of a 120.3 as he comes round these last couple of corners in sector 3, using all of the track limits there, all over the curb in the final corner? He's not going to have any luck of any slipstream from his teammate or any car in front. But what can Persegidi do towards the line?
And he does. He gets it done. Finds a 10th over Moxie.
I think I see just there, Phoenix was disqualified for blocking the pit lane. Interesting.
And we've got Lucas Zone. Look as though the only man and Simi Rallymonster, the only guys left on track, still pushing for a lap. Now the track has shown that it's ramped up quite a bit, so I would not be too surprised. And I think he's backed out. And that is it, everybody. Our two season protagonists, Percy and Moxie, even though Moxie has now been jumped in the championship by, I did have it up before I started, by Gulmarv. So Alpha Towers can still work together. That's fantastic, actually, from Gulmarv. Where's oh no, Gulmarv's only in 8th. So I think it's just Mr. Consistency has brought himself into contention. The Alpha Towers have got a lot of work to do here. Persegili has put down a marker once again that he is the man to beat. As we just wait for all the cars to file in, and we will get underway with 29 laps of racing around this absolute tyre, ERS and human killer of a track. If you didn't watch it last season, oh, you'll know it's retired quite a few drivers, put a few in the medical centre. So there we have it. Moxie, even though he is a 10th, only less than a 10th down on Persegili, he's going to find himself with a 5-place grid penalty, which is going to drop him down to behind Max Duca, who is not somebody who you want to be stuck behind. So there we are. Persegili leads Moxie, leads Mooshlane with a great qualifying to Pedro, then Creamer, Max Duca, Jim Wong, Gulmarv, AVT Passy, and Tezik rounds out the top 10. And then we have Simi Rally Monster, Lucazone, Super Jesse, Sun Ninja State, and Phoenix, who managed to get himself disqualified at the very end of the race. And we'll just get the incidents up for that. That's all the stewards need to see. And if it needs to go to the stewards, it was caught on stream that AVT Pasty did look like he was blocking the line for Moxie. So I'm very much looking forward to this one. The protagonists back where they belong. Looks like we've got it 2x2x2, exactly where we expect people, apart from Moxie, who's going to drop back. So yeah, we just wait now while the drivers who are attending are selecting their tyres, selecting their strategies, making the few aerodynamic changes they can make if they choose to, and then they head out onto track and we wait for those 5 lights and the racing to get underway. Now we do engage the safety car as well, so you have to bear with us while we let Crofty do his little thing that the game is going to enforce on us.
So just whilst we do wait for the drivers to select their strategy, what do you reckon is going to be worth more, a 2-stop or a 3-stop?
I mean, you can gain so much time around this circuit with the optimum tyres. I think there's a lot of penalties that are going to come into play, and I think it very much depends on if people are picking up those penalties. They're not going to want to do the extra stops. They're going to want to try and manage and try and get themselves long ahead instead of chasing, only to push for a position they're going to have to give up in penalties. But there we have it. Quite a significant mix of tyre strategies there. We've got Perskill in the hard tyres, Mudslane picking up the medium tyres to have an attack. I'm going to get that information back up for you shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Just going to wait for these to form up. After the game has treated all the cars nicely, warmed the tyres up for them. Due to the way the game has formed them up, there'll be no aggressive pointing. So we have 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and away we go. Mouche looks like he does get a good pull away there. Persegili elects to go to the outside. Looks like Creamer's going to make a dive down the inside. Creamer does touch Mouche ahead. Mouche with the non-optimal line allows Persegili to stay clean and pushes through. We've got Pedro coming up as well. Who's going to get... Looks like Jim Wong's going to try and get round him. On the soft tyres against the hard. Oh, it's super, super tight, but it looks like Pedro's going to have to give up just for now. Let's get that tyre data up again. Oh, so we have a lot of movement at the back. Soft tyre runner of Lucazone making up positions, but having to swap back again with Super Jesse as they go side by side.
All seems relatively facing forward this first lap. No one seems to have found themselves in any carnage yet.
Michelin doing a fantastic job to hold on to Persegili in his early stages, but Jim Wong is going to make that job incredibly difficult for him. Look at the speed that Jim Wong has found on these softs early on. Now we're not in 2024 yet. We're going to have to wait for 2 laps to get this DRS open. I think Jim Wong's going to want to dive at this first corner here. Further back, we have Creamer, who's already pulled up alongside and got ahead of Pedro. We'll go back to Jim Wong. He's just biding his time.
He's practically pushing the Alpine round the track. Jim Wong looking for a move.
Michelin not being scared though. He's keeping his line. Don't defend thin air.
They call him Mr. Smooth for a reason. He's going to go for a move. Or...
Super Jesse around the back.
Jim Wong side by side with Mr. Smooth. Gets the move done side by side, but Mr. Smooth just about backs out for the corner. Jim Wong moves up into P2. Can he chase down the man in front, Persegili?
I think Michelin did the right thing, not find that too hard, as Tezik already with the track limit penalty.
Yeah, Zach Brown doesn't approve of penalties on lap 2, mate.
The bear hugs are for celebrations and for punishments.
Creamer all over the back of Mr. Smooth. Mr. Smooth, I think, had a bit of a snap coming out of one of those corners as they come around the final corner, but Creamer is all over the back of the Alpine.
Yeah, Creamer just looking like he's warmed up these medium tyres that much better. And down he goes, Creamer to the inside. Superior straight line speed, even without DRS. And through he goes. Michelin will try and cut back to the inside slightly, but doesn't have the line to do anything about it. Michelin, unfortunately, falling backwards from P2.
And say, speaking of DRS has been enabled this lap, but the drivers won't get it until the start straight next time round.
Tezik going after an ailing Gulmarv. Just doesn't seem to be able to push that hard. Potentially a week where he hasn't really found a setup that really suits him for this track. Now, this is fascinating with Jim Wong. I think Persegili is usually used to this much pressure on the first few laps. Usually finds himself in a split strategy against Moxie. And one just takes the reins. And we fight again at the end. But Jim Wong has got the impetus early on. And he's going to pick up DRS here. Coming down the start-finish straight. But will he elect to make the move straight away? Doesn't seem to have the straight line speed though, Retro.
Just speaking of Moxie, just then, Moxie has got the DRS wide open as he overtakes Pedro into turn 1 on the inside. So great move from him. But Pedro might go for a little switch back there. No, he doesn't quite get it done, but sits right behind him there.
We'll go back to this battle for the lead. Jim Wong just edging ever closer. He's got to watch how he doesn't cook his tyres. He's testing Persegili's nerve here, but anybody familiar with the league knows that Persegili does not crack easily. Seems to struggle, Jim Wong, through the fast speed sections.
Even on the soft tyres.
I think maybe he's running a little bit higher downforce. Persegili with experience probably can run a slightly slippier setup. Just carry speed out of the fast corners. So about the same gap as we were last time. Jim Wong's slightly falling back. DRS is going to open once again. Is closing better on the straight here. Maybe
So
a bit of
Moxie
ERS
going
usage.
for a move on Mr. Smooth down the straight. Sorry to interrupt you there. So he gets a move done on Mr. Smooth. Now Moxie's got to chase down Creamer. He's all over the back of the Aston Martin. I thought he was going to do 2 cars down that straight there.
So Creamer doing a good job here, just maintaining this battle. He knows with those medium tyres, he probably can't challenge Jim Wong at this stage. The race will come to him, both in front, but unfortunately behind as well. Moxie, having settled into this race, starting to find his legs, going after Creamer on the harder compound tyre. Pack stayed very close together, all within a sector at this point, even on lap 5. I think Jim Wong just having to back off a little bit. I don't think he was that comfortable with being that close to Persegili for multiple sectors.
I think that's just where racecraft comes into play from Persegili and Jim Wong there, just to make sure it still stays fair and clean. But say Tezik joins again the penalty. 6 seconds already, I believe.
So I think we're going
to join him, but he's going to get a move done on Creamer down the start straight with the DRS. Creamer's vulnerable.
As we've got an incident at the back, I believe. One of the Haas drivers having a bit of an issue. But yeah, Moxie getting that position on Creamer.
There's a big split in the train now.
And the Looker Zone making more moves. Another driver making good use of the soft tyres. Yeah, Looker Zone leading that rear group, trying to head back towards Tezik, who he actually does have the position on at the moment because that 6 seconds will put him in that gap. Creamer isn't letting Moxie go just yet.
So Moxie is chipping away at that gap to Jim Wong. Oh, as I just say that, Moxie had a big snap there, but still keeps it facing forward.
Jim Wong is incrementally worse off per lap at the moment. He is still in DRS, but I think Persegili has recognised the straight line deficit that he's carrying and is just edging away to make this attack that's coming on the pit straight less and less effective. So 8 tenths is the gap. DRS is going to get open. What's happened to Mushlane? Oh no, he's had a snap coming off the final corner, and Mr. Smooth, who started on P2, finds himself all the way down in P10 now.
There's 3 drivers in the pits already. Both the Hasses and the Aston Martin of Lucasone already in the pits.
Going on to hards and mediums, looking to get further into this race. It did look like... Oh, as I've caught Moxie. Moxie with a big slide. Just lit it up on the outside. As Tezik gets more penalties. And Moxie finds himself once again behind Mushlane.
Very, very lucky rejoin there.
It's becoming quite a war of attrition, which makes you even more appreciative of what Jim Wong's doing here on what will be now aging soft tyres. But I don't know, has Persegili made a mistake? Jim Wong is so much closer coming through the triple right-hander in the 3rd sector. 4 tenths is the gap. This might be a graining phase for the hards. 4 tenths is the gap now. This is so much closer than that Jim Wong has been.
Well, Persegili gets a big snap on the exit there.
DRS opens. Jim Wong pulls out the slipstream, thinks he might have a chance. He does. He's coming. DRS closes very early on the straight. Doesn't trust his tyres under braking. Pulls out, and that's Tezik retiring from the session in the pit lane. Gulmov getting past AVT Passy, but then Gulmov having a snap going off track. Rejoins AVT Passy, swoops back through.
So we've got Jim Wong practically pushing Persegili around at the moment.
This must be some sort of graining phase for the hards. Jim Wong, if he's going to take this position, needs to do it soon. Persegili at this point is costing him time. The ideal place is down the pit straight, because I think Persegili, given the option with DRS to his disposal, would find it much easier to get past Jim Wong the other way around.
Yeah, I say as they come round, these couple of fast right-handers. So just to keep that gap nice and tight for that straight DRS battle, Jim Wong's going to be hungry.
Max Duca lining up a move on Pedro as well, who's not too far behind Cream, but we're going to go to this leading battle. We'll snip back to that one in a minute.
Don't think he's going to... He might get it done. I'm not quite sure if he's going to get it fully done. I think
This
he's
is going to take
behind.
some kahunas. Oh, he makes a dive for it. Oh, Persegili gets a snap. Jim Wong is right there. It's as close as he's been all race. Jim Wong might just have to bite the bullet and take it in one of these corners. He does not have it on the straight. Surely he's going to start recognising that now. The gap is 3/10. He's given himself a bit of breathing room after that close exchange. Jim Wong, this is absolutely fantastic work. And I do wonder how much longer those soft tyres can last.
Let's say lap 9 on Qatar on softs is really good going. And so the tyre abuse is unreal for these fast, tricky technical corners of Qatar.
Jim Wong doing an absolutely incredible stint on these softs. The fact that he's still managing to fight Persegili is very, very impressive. Further back, Creamer really, really wants to get Pedro moved.
Lucasone picking up a 3-second penalty there.
And despite Jim Wong's good work in the first 2 sectors of that lap, he has dropped back. If you couldn't get it done from 3/10 last lap, I don't think we'll get it done from then this time. But Creamer moves to the inside, and he does dive into turn 1. It looks like almost like the tyre life and tyre ability has been flipped on its head.
Oh, Pedro, 3-second penalty.
And that'll be an incentive for Max Duca. That may be a free position, but he doesn't want to have to just sit around just waiting to take that one.
The podium last race, so he's going to want to be hungry to match that feat, but say 3-second penalty from Pedro. He's going to want to keep that door very, very nice and closed.
And Pedro just looking like he's playing the long game here. No need to push these hards too hard. No pun intended. Now I do wonder now if Jim Wong, if he's starting to feel the wear of these tyres, if he has somebody speaking in his ear that might be able to tell him if there's a gap for him to slot into. I think Jim Wong, with starting on the softs, I mean, he's got no real reference at the moment to how the hards are performing. I mean, the only one he's really got is Persegili, who's just keeping him at bay. Oh, Pedro looks like he's coming back here. He does. He switches to the inside. DRS open. Creamer doesn't have an answer. And I feel that position is going to change over a few times on that straight before we see the pit stops.
Yeah, that DRS straight's just a yo-yo.
I bet Jim Wong wishes a bit more of a yo-yo rather than just a bat and ball. So we did just get a yellow flag there. I'm unsure what it was for. Max Duca just biding his time. A man who can develop very, very quick one-lap pace. He's probably the last person you want to face if he tries to undercut you. Gulmarv closing on an AVT pasty as well. Battle that's gone relatively under the radar. The Red Bull family tree looks like they might have a falling out over Christmas dinner. Keeping a relative distance at this time. Jim Wong still staying out. I think at this point, with him just extending the soft, it will just not so much trouble Persegili in terms of a battle, but will make him think this time Creamer's had to go for the outside with DRS as Pedro went to defend but couldn't do anything more. But Phoenix overtaking Mushrain, who has dived into the pits. So we've got a 2-car battle followed by a 3-car battle, followed by another 2-car battle, and then some significant spacing towards the rear.
So it's not over till it's over. Qatar, anything can happen.
So Mushrain lost more positions in the pits there. Simirani wants to have got himself ahead. Mushrain, Mr. Smooth, probably be able to nurse these tyres to the end, so he'll coast up back to Simirani Monster and probably take that underneath DRS when the time comes. Yeah, I think Jim Wong is definitely struggling now. What was quite easily at half a second gap behind. As he does, now he dives into the pits. Now this is crucial as to where he comes out. We're going to stick with this 3-car battle and we're going to flip back to Jim Wong as he comes out of the pits. Now Persegili is probably going to be forced not to have to immediately respond to that. He's going to have to really think what he wants to do about what Jim Wong's done there. Does he think he's just a man out of place being on the alternate strategy? Or does he actually consider him a genuine contender? Based on pace at least, maybe, but they were on significantly different tyres. As more penalties start to fall upon those towards the back of the grid.
So Jim Wong does return to track in P9.
With a relative bit of free air in front of him. He's going to look to go long on these hard tyres. This could potentially be a flip strategy from what Persegili is looking to do. Persegili might go long and seeing the pace that the soft tyres had in comparison to him, may look to go on those at the end. He now knows how long they can last in the hands of somebody that knows what to do with them. So maybe that's good tyre data for him. As this battle for P3 rages on. But all drivers on the same hard tyre strategy, only making positions when they really have to.
Pedro baited a dive into the pits there. I think he cut across the line there.
Didn't seem to get a penalty from it though. Max Duca now gets to fight Creamer. No. Pedro. Pedro all by himself.
Oh, we've got a Haas. He's had a bit of a whoopsie moment.
He's still going. Monster. He's got his teammate coming up fast behind him, so he may want to get a move on. As Moxie pits again for the mediums. I'm not quite understanding what's going on with Moxie tonight. I'm not sure if he was carrying damage before and ended up offsetting as further back.
Max Duca all back of Pedro is a big lock up from Pedro. Max Duca does very well to keep his Alfa Romeo out the back of that Red Bull there.
Yeah.
And he's slightly behind. Speaking of Red Bulls, we've got Gormov all over the back of ABT Pasty.
We get a bit of an onboard shot there. No tyre deficit here. They are even. Stevens. As I really thought Gormov was going to go for a move at the inside there. That would have been something.
Yeah, I wouldn't have put it past Gormov to do that, to be fair.
It's because Jim Wong has started to pick drivers off through pits and now one on track with Phoenix. Gormov's going to get the DRS open. He's more than close enough to get something done here. Moves to the inside and that'll be all she wrote. Diving into turn 1. Keeps it nice and tight. Doesn't offer the opportunity for a switchback into turn 2. Max Ducat still tracking down Pedro. Now his battle realistically is with Creamer, who's down in P8. Creamer, who started on the mediums, if I'm right in thinking, started on the hards, I'm right in thinking, and has gone back onto the hards.
Well, speaking of AlphaTauri, Moxie picks up a 3-second penalty.
It's not been a good evening for Moxie so far. Most, apart from the incident qualifying, mostly of his own doing. Yeah, there's a lot of drivers on the hard tyres now that just want to settle into a race. They want no drama. They want their strategy to do the work. But speaking of strategy,
dive into the pits.
And that releases AVT Pasty down the pit straight.
So Red Bull's 3.
It's Persegili, finally. Yeah, we didn't see that one coming. The man looked very much in control once Jim Wong had left him alone. Jim Wong only 12 seconds behind Persegili now.
I looked last lap. Jim Wong was probably 13 seconds or 13 and a half seconds. It's now just dropped to just under 12 or about 12. Lucas Owen picking up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
He might be able to get that one cleared. There's enough time left in the race for him to probably get on a different tyre strategy and have that served. Yeah, Jim Wong is laying some rubber down.
Yeah. That will help him or hurt him later on. Especially on a track.
Veteran, my mate, you're crackling a little bit. You're
Uh-oh. Go crackle, bad crackle.
You sort of sound like you're underwater with bubbles every now and again.
Ah, is it good now?
That's much better.
Jim Wong, speak of the devil, 3-second time penalty. Just to prove how much he's pushing, he picks up a 3-second penalty.
So we're just going to get...
Persegili has dived into the pits. Jim Wong's coming around the final corner down the start straight, so he is going to overtake Persegili.
It's not too
just
much for
about.
Well, actually, Persegili's going to have time to pick up speed. Jim Wong's going to have one hell of a lead. He's going to have a small tyre deficit to Persegili come the end of the race, but there's plenty he can do with this.
Well, AVT Pasty all over the edge of the curb in there, as far as that might have been a warning.
So just showing the viewers the time penalties at the moment. Jim Wong, Persegili, Pedro, Gulmarv, Mushlane and Phoenix all on 3 seconds, with the outliers of Moxie and Lucazone on 9 and 11 seconds respectively.
So out of the pit stops, there's only one driver left to pit. Obviously I'm not going to say who it is in case any of you racers are listening to the stream, but there's only one driver left to do a pit stop. And I'm pretty sure you might be able to guess who that is anyway. But all to play for Jim Wong versus Persegili.
Closest battle on track at the moment is, well, there's two. We have Pedro on Max Duca, we have Phoenix on Super Jesse.
Sim Rally Monster taking the fastest lap with 123.
It just shows how much people have been managing these hard tyres, that someone on fresh mediums in the middle of the race can take that. Pedro not quite close enough to Max Duca. He's going to get DRS open and he's going to close in, but it's not going to be enough. Well, I say that, he's closing in at some speed.
Super Jesse, 3-second penalty.
Pedro, yeah, was definitely utilised the DRS there. Not sure if that's the first opportunity that he's had it.
Yeah, so Persegili is now just over half a second to Jim Wong already on those fresher medium tyres.
So that's ultimately what he was playing for. Not the soft, but the medium. However, say that, not many people have had much success in this medium so far. Not sure if it's Deg versus performance. Maybe Persegili's the man to finally make it work.
We're talking about, so...
And Jim Wong already going defensive early, holding a tight line just before coming into the triple header.
AVT Pasty still staying out at the moment.
Now we're going to see how much I was right about this straight line speed deficit. Persigili opens the rear wing and is immediately alongside and has got almost half a second before the pit straight ends. So normal service resumed very quickly from Persigili. He had a little bit of a worry early on. He had to relinquish his lead momentarily, but he is back in prime position for this win. Well, the Alpha Tower is that we know from previous races don't really abide by any sort of team orders. They don't talk, and they certainly do not make deals for the benefit of the team. They might want to consider a bit of teamwork to close in on those ahead of them of Max Duca and Pedro. And they have a fantastic opportunity to take and continue with the lead of the Constructors' Championship. Two very strong drivers when they get their heads down. And they are just... Oh! As we see Gulmarv taking a very, very different line out the exit of the triple header. As Persigili stamps his authority back on the medium tyres with the fastest lap of the race.
Commanding lap. So the previous fastest lap was a 1:23.9. Persigili's just done a fastest lap with a 1:23.1. 8/10 faster than the previous fastest lap.
He was last season's champion.
2.5 seconds from Jim Wong already.
And Jim Wong is going to want to start to turn his attention to those behind. He does have a penalty. He might be hoping that Creamer might pick one up by the end. But that's one thing. If Persigili may still have to worry about Creamer. If Creamer can close in past Jim Wong, he could absolutely put himself in contention for the win of the race after penalties. So he's definitely closing on Jim Wong. Striking distance, only a lap or two. Persigili now does retake the lead of the race as AVT Pasty, if you made your guesses earlier on, was the man who stayed out hoping for a safety car. Now dives into the pits and is probably going to dramatically affect his strategy as he's going to get thrown back in behind this massive group that's vying for the podium positions. I'm going to quickly have a look at his tyre. AVT Pasty goes on to the softs for the final laps. We know how strong that can be.
And these are just snipping behind Phoenix. If he can get the power going just before turn one, I think he is.
Gulmarv and Moxie have swapped round. Gulmarv now the lead driver trying to pull up behind Max Duca. We go on board with Creamer as he comes into the final corner. Oh no, sorry, picked that up wrong. I looked at wrong Aston Martin. He's coming through the middle sector now. I'm going to see if his tyre advantage with the triple header can bring him close and set up an attack down the pit straight. 9/10 is the gap. Finds a tenth or two.
Dropping very quickly earlier. Whether we can keep that pace up.
As Jim Wong goes wide.
All over the place.
And Pedro now showing up on the scene to to keep Creamer honest. DRS wide open for both drivers. Pedro looks like he's got the better top speed as the AlphaTauris, through team orders, swap round positions again. Oh, Jim1 gets a huge snap. Mr. Smooth not being so smooth with some extra penalties there. Now Creamer's definitely getting this position on Jim Wong. But will it be at a cost to Pedro also taking it off him? Not quite sure.
Oh, speaking of AlphaTauris, we've got Moxie off track in the gravel.
Moxie's evening just going from bad to worse. It looked like they were doing another choreographed pass between the two AlphaTauris, and I've missed it, but I can only presume it went wrong. As Creamer's coming around the triple header once again. Jim Wong is his target.
So Pedro is hot on the heels of Creamer.
He's going to get a double slipstream down the straight. Creamer almost having to back off out of the back of Jim Wong. DRS will open now. Surely this next move is a bit of a formality. But as Creamer pulls out, doesn't quite keep the space. As Pedro, gets a bit squeezed out. Pedro now switches from the inside to the outside. Can he keep it with Creamer? He's going to try
the inside.
Creamer's going to hold it out. Oh, Jim Wong. Got a bit of a snap, but he is still going. And Pedro wins out there. But Creamer is going to want that back if he wants any chance of taking place off Perseguili through penalties. We're going to quickly check on that. Perseguili only carrying 3 seconds. And he's got a 6-second gap to Pedro. So it looks like if Creamer, with the good tyres, can hold on to this quite easy, as Moxie has retired his early championship lead and then challenge is seemingly going up in smoke at this point.
So Creamer is all over the back of Pedro, trying to set himself up very nicely. He couldn't get any closer to the back of that Red Bull if he tried for the DRS.
It doesn't upset him on the exit. DRS has opened. He's going to pull out from behind straight away. Two clearly very evenly matched drivers with equally matched machinery. As he chooses a strong defence on the exit of turn 1. And I think he just wants to stay ahead just so he doesn't get attacked from those behind. Max Duca arriving on the scene.
And so this could look quite tasty for Max Duca if he can keep it close together and keep it clean on the tarmac. As I just say that commentator's curse, I think I just saw him slide into that hairpin.
Yeah, I think Creamer's just conscious of other attackers from behind. Gulmarv, who was originally playing a bit of slipstream swapping, DRS swapping with his teammate Moxie, is now that gap that was closing is started to build again. So I think his challenge on this group, as Pedro's picked himself another penalty, and that's going to invite a few more behind.
Yeah, 6 seconds for Pedro now.
So Pedro is probably going to be fighting for this position even harder than Creamer is already.
ABT passed the 3-second penalty.
Pedro lets him go for the outside again. Yeah, Creamer I think is just maybe counting the laps, working out when it's his turn to take that position back. There are currently no closer battles on track, so we're going to stay on board with this one. The P2 position, for all intents and purposes, is Creamer's, with the penalties that are lying around. And I think Creamer's not pushing too hard. Oh, was it a yellow flag? That's a Haas.
The Haas.
And that's a
Oh,
solid
Sim
Ninja Snake.
Monster.
Oh no, Sim Rally Monster just rounding the outside the track. He's got himself going. He's going to want to avoid the lapping cars. Does the right thing. Oh, and he's been given a huge penalty for his time off track. And that's his, for positions at least, that's his race pretty much over. His Creamer's now backed off from Pedro. Allowed Jim Wong to come back at him.
So Creamer's not going to have DRS down this straight.
Jim Wong knows one or two things about chasing Mercedes Powers cars down this straight. There's a bit more straight line speed against the one of Creamer though. As I believe Simi Running Monster, has retired from the session. It's unfortunate. He had an incident, tried to do the right thing at the game. Is quite indiscriminate, went after him for his time off track and the speed he was taking. So Creamer now dropping back to P4. He should still get these positions off Pedro and Jim Wong. Max Duca's incentive to really close up on this.
Yeah, he needs to just slip inside DRS just to help him tag along the back of this battle, just so he could get a good jump of positions.
Yeah, because Max Duca could end up on the podium here. P5 across the line, could end up in P3. And he could end up P2. I mean, he's gained a lot of time on Creamer. The one driver amongst all of this that Creamer can't actually afford to lose an on-track position to is gaining and gaining and gaining on him. I'm not quite sure when Creamer pitted, but it looks like his tyres have just gone off.
Yeah, so looking at the tyres, they're both evenly on age, but it's just different compounds that might be coming into play. There's a bit of a moment from Jim Wong there, because I think Creamer's closed the gap considerably to Jim Wong. And so Max Duca is, all over this as well.
So, what is a net P2 and P3? Want to not ruin it for one another. They can just... as Max Duca looks to move to the inside, as to get his brakes on heavy to get through there.
Yeah, Jim Wong going a bit weaving on track there. So I think the driver's just about avoided it.
Jim Wong, who put these hard tyres on quite a while ago now. Yeah, 5-car battle. That's not going to play out quite how it's going to finish over the line because of penalties. As long as Creamer and Max Duke can keep their noses and all 4 tyres on the black stuff.
And so, albeit, Pedro doesn't pick up any more penalties, but all that clean air he's got, he is digging himself a bit of a gap. I don't think it'd be quite enough though.
As Creamer's a bit wide on entry. As we could have so many cars coming into this first turn, side by side. Along goes Creamer.
Is Max Duca going to get in front? I think he is.
And Max Duca chooses the outside.
But Gourmov snuck through as well. 3 cars down the back straight.
Oh, disaster for Jim Wong. But Creamer back exactly where he needs to be. With Max Duca in tow. Now Max Duca knows there's a P2 on here. With the pace that he's got.
He just needs to keep his head down. So there is a ghosted car driving around, which is a distraction, but so I hope it's not going to bother him too much.
It looks like it might be. Which is really unfortunate. I'll tell you, that ghost is fast though.
I wish I was.
But Max Duke, this is realistically the last chance he's going to get. Because I don't think the pit lane is long enough for the DRS to actually get the move fully done on the last lap. as Perseguili does start that last lap in just a complete class of his own. 8 seconds to Pedro. You just see him go around the first turn there in the distance.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Due to the ghosted car, Creamer's got DRS from the ghosted car.
And that has allowed Gulmarv, in relative terms, to close on Max Duca. Max Duca, who should have been blocking the way alongside Creamer. Look at Gulmarv. He doesn't care what the podium looks like. He's going for the moves.
Unbelievable. That's unfortunate from Max Duca's part. He could have got a move on Creamer down straight. And so that ghosted car gifted DRS to him.
So Creamer looking a bit more comfortable now.
Keep his head down and keep his head cool with his last few corners.
Keep an eye on Perseguili. We are going to give Perseguili his time in the sun as he rounds the final corner. The man who had a bit of pressure early on had to retake the lead from Jim Wong, who looked like a bit of a threat, weaving to his team as many as Mercedes has done in those all-black colours. And well done, Perseguili. But we're going to go back to Creamer. He's got Gulmarv, who's going to try and chase into the line. Pedro crossed the line in P2, but isn't going to keep it. Gulmarv pushes, but then, yeah, Creamer and Max Duca do fill those spots. And Jim Wong, unfortunately, 2 penalties, has dropped down to P7. The man who looked like he might challenge even for the win early on, which didn't quite work out for him. Tyres let him down. Mr. Smooth, unfortunately, was so smooth, he slid down the pack. And Phoenix comes home for an all-Alpine points finish, which can only really be said elsewhere for the Red Bulls. Super Jesse, long battle with Lucazone, didn't go unrewarded. He comes home to pick up a solitary point, and Lucazone in the distance does get to finish the race, having been involved in quite a long, hard battle with Super Jesse. Well, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us around Qatar. Hope you all enjoyed it. There's a few good battles in there, multi-cars. And the game has given the driver of the day to Creamer, and it was a well-managed race for him. And I think if Jim Wong had have held on to some better positions, I might have given it to him. I'm going to have one more look at the standings, and I think we'll make an informed choice off that, Retro.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right there. If Jim Wong could have kept it on track, facing forward without any technical Ferrari moves or strategies, then he could have been great contention for driver of the session. But say the game did give it to Creamer, which is where I'm personally leaning towards the same Max Duca, putting it on the podium back to back 2 weeks in a row. So not a driver that would normally find himself on the podium, but say fantastic race from him, keeping his head down, keeping his head cool. No penalties round Qatar as well. Don't forget that as well, which helped him aid that podium.
Yeah. So I was looking at a few others. Yeah, I mean, it's almost a direct split between Creamer and Max Duca, but on track, I think, do you know what? I might have to agree with the game. They went on track together, they battled together on a similar sort of strategy from P4 and P5 on the grid. They found themselves, kept themselves clean, and they basically had an identical race, but Creamer won out of the two of them. So I'm going to have to agree with the game on that one and give drive of the day to Creamer. Just going to go down the list. Actually, no, they're all retirements at the bottom. So, yeah, that is it for round 10. You can join us next week at... Get the calendar up. So, next week we are in France. And I hope you all can join us for that. We'll have a load more fun. So, I've been the Woofafa. Thank you all for joining us. And I'll see you next week.
Take it easy, guys.